Hello everyone, welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel. A very happy new year to you if it's after midnight on, and if not, I hope you're going to enjoy your New Year's celebrations. But we kick off the new year with arguably the best day of darts in the calendar. And here we are, World Championship quarterfinals 2026. 4 cracking contests await us on Thursday. And can't wait to get stuck in and watch them. And a few wagers standing out to me. If you've been watching along throughout the tournament, thanks. It's been great to have so many people tuning in. I've really loved doing the vlogs. Results have been up and down, as you would expect, but hopefully you've had some enjoyment out of them and maybe a few winners as well. And I'll be here to guide you through right until the final on Saturday evening. But a bit of a special video, this one, obviously, because we've got 4 great matches to get stuck into. So I'm not going to dwell on what's gone before. I'm just going to put all focus on Thursday's games and the last 8. I've also got some little sort of stats graphics, which I'm going to bring up whilst we're talking through these games, just to help give you a little bit of a steer on how each of the players have gone so far and what we maybe expect from them on Thursday. So 4 quarterfinals to look forward to. As we can see, the first one is Ryan Searle versus Jonny Clayton. Just a quick look at the betting before we go into the stats. Searle has been heavily backed here. He's currently, at the time of recording, which is 7 p.m. on New Year's Eve, an 8-11 favourite for this game, with Jonny Clayton out at a best price of 5-4 on the exchange and with AK bets, and continues to drift. I don't know how much bigger he can get, really, Jonny Clayton. I think if this game had been taking place before the World Championship, these prices would have been the other way around, and Clayton arguably would have even been a tad shorter. So it's a real role reversal based on what we've seen from both players so far, I guess. And just worth considering whether or not that's gone too far, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of the stats, here we go then. Jonny Clayton, let's have a look at the rolling average, 94.74 for the tournament. Searle up at 98.88. The checkout percentage is 41.66 for Clayton, and a very, very impressive 58.33% for Ryan Searle. In terms of sets dropped, Jonny Clayton has dropped 1, 3, and 2. The X represents his bye that he got in round 2 against Dom Taylor for the failed drug test, whereas Ryan Searle still yet to drop a set at this tournament, remarkably. 180s per leg. They are dead tied on 0.28 thus far, and it's remarkable. Clayton, despite playing a match less, has actually played 20 more legs so far in this tournament. So that tells you a lot about their passages through to this point. In terms of ton plus checkouts, we've actually seen 6 from Jonny, 4 from Ryan, roughly the same equation given the extra legs that Clayton has played. So not a lot to split them. You can see with these numbers why Searle has maybe been put in as the favourite. But yeah, when I look at this game, I mean, you have to look at the actual opposition that Searle has come up against. He hasn't really been strongly tested yet, has he? Give him some credit for that himself. But in terms of a run, he's had Chris Landman, bit of a non-event of a first-round game. Brendan Dolan didn't give him a sniff, but Brendan wasn't at his best either. Martin Schindler really didn't turn up. And then he played James Hurrell in a game where he probably would have been expecting to play Stephen Bunting. So he has had a nice draw, Searle. He's also made the best of it, and he's playing very well, and he's very confident. Changed his equipment a month or two ago, and has been pleasantly surprised by how quickly things have gone to plan with that equipment, I guess. Jonny Clayton, on the flip side, he's had to really graft for his route through here, hasn't he? Obviously made to work a little bit in his opener, but came through fairly comfortably. Then a really cracking game with Niels Zonneveld, where he was outscored for most of the contest, to be honest, but found a way through, powered through in the last set, won the last set 3-0 to win it 4-3. And then again, got himself embroiled in the last 16, but just about found a way through there. So it has been hard work for Jonny Clayton. I mean, I think by his own admission, he rode his luck against Andreas Harrison. That game could have been, Harrison should have been 3-2 up, and that was the pivotal moment, unfortunately, for the big Swede. But the way I'm looking at this game, I've got to give Jonny Clayton a lot of credit here. He's been playing under a tremendous amount of pressure, some of it sort of brought on by himself. He's made no secret that he wants to be back in the Premier League. He actually said that being in the Premier League is more important to him than the World Championship. And I don't think winning the World Championship he means by that, but I think he means he would happily probably get knocked out here if he was in the Premier League. which might sound bizarre, but I think that it's really important for Jonny to be in that competition as one of the best players in the world, competing week in, week out, and you know, by and large, getting yourself into all the big tournaments and World Series and all that comes with it. And obviously, he's a former Premier League winner, and I just think the tournament means a lot to him. Now, by getting that win over Harrison, he becomes the provisional world number 4. On all known criteria, that will be enough to get Jonny into next year's Premier League. Now, it's not beyond the realms that the PDC change it, but I don't think they would change it in a way where Clayton doesn't get in, because that would be incredibly harsh. So I think he's in the Premier League. I think that'll be a weight off his shoulders mentally. And I also think that being battle hardened is not a bad thing come this stage. There's obviously more to come from him, like that rolling average of 94.7. We know that Jonny Clayton can get that up towards a ton quite easily. He's vastly experienced as a former major winner. He's been to this stage a few times before. Ryan Searle hasn't. So less questions to answer for Jonny Clayton. I can't disagree that on the form of the actual tournament itself, Ryan Searle probably deserves to be favourite. But I think that this will be very close, actually. So there's 2 ways I'm going to play this. I'm going to have 1.5 points on over 7.5 sets. If I just flick back to the betting market, over 1.5 sets here, over 7.5 sets, beg your pardon, is 10 to 11. And that is with a few different outlets: Ladbrokes, Bet Victor, Corals, BetMGM, etc. Both players to get 3 sets. This is how I see this game going. I think it's 5-3 or 5-4 either way. I think Searle is playing too well to get rolled. I mean, traditionally in this matchup, I would have worries about Searle just being a bit flat. But I think he's playing too well for that to happen. And I think Jonny Clayton just has great battling qualities. Even when he's not playing well, he seems to find a way to keep winning sets and keep himself in matches. So I think both players to get 3 sets. I definitely want to be on the over rather than the under. So I'm going to have 1.5 points on that. I'm also going to have 1.5 points on Ryan Searle, most 180s. I'm a little bit surprised he's 13 to 8. I mean, as I mentioned, Searle is... They're both going at the same ratio of 180s per leg. And on top of that, Searle is hitting a hell of a lot of 140s. His 140s per leg is significantly higher than Clayton's, which is unexpected because Jonny Clayton is normally the king of the 140, but there's been a lot of 5s and treble 5s and stuff from Jonny. So I think Searle is looking as likely, if not more likely, on the 180s front. So I'm a little bit surprised, given he's a big favourite for the match and stuff, that the market hasn't sort of also shortened him in the 180 ranks. And seasonally, Jonny Clayton, fair enough, but in terms of what we've seen recently, more than happy to back Searle here at 13 to 8 for the most 180s. Just for a little bit of fun as well, I am going to have a 1-point bet builder on this game for Searle most 180s, over 7.5 sets, but Clayton to win the match, and that is 10 to 1, just for a point. I think it's, it's all angles that I like, just rolled into one. And at 10 to 1, I'm happy to chance a point on it. I think it gives you a nice interest in the game, and it also ticks all the boxes that I kind of see from this contest. So quite an active betting match for me in terms of the opening quarterfinal. Quarterfinal 2 then is Gary Anderson versus Justin Hood, and I don't think anybody called this one on the bingo card at the start of the tournament, but many may have felt like Anderson had a run in him, but I think, to be honest, you have to say most of the pre-tournament chat did not involve Gary Anderson. There were not a lot of people feeling strong about Gary Anderson's prospects at this World Championship. The last 2 years, he's come in with a lot of talk about him being a potential dark horse, potential winner. Didn't really see that this year, and he's gone off like 40 or 50 to 1. Now, I backed Van Gerwen at 22 to 1. Obviously, they played last night, and I did, going into the match, I did kind of think Gary might just get the better of him. It was never a 4-1 game. Like, I think there was very little between them. Anderson just held himself together better in the big moments. Michael missed a few too many doubles, but, a really good contest between two absolute legends of the sport. Justin Hood. Few people have asked me the last few years, what do you think about Justin Hood? What can you think about it? It's so surreal. Like, Justin Hood's been operating on the floor of the Pro Tour this year to a decent level. His stats are better than his results have been. So it's not a massive surprise to see him performing well. I mean, I was very strong on him in his game with Nick Kenny in round 1. But I thought he would come undone against Danny Noppert. That was a fantastic game. gutted for Danny Nopper as a backer and as a fan of him. I want to see him in the Premier League, and it was such a shame that he ran into that performance, but brilliant from Hood. Then beyond that, Meikle looked like a soft draw for him with the way he was playing and the confidence, and so it kind of proved. He actually had his worst game against Ryan Meikle and still came through it comfortably. And then that against Josh Rock yesterday. I mean, I made the case for Josh Rock maybe being too classy for him. Hood goes 11 out of 11 on doubles. We've never seen the like, and you just have to hold your hands up and say, like, this is very special what he's doing. It is absolutely marvelous, and what a likable guy as well. Very, very, like, hard to not be like enjoying it with him. He just seems to be enjoying the ride, and I think he does genuinely believe he can win the World Championship with the way he talks. Like, he was asked straight after the game against Rock, does this surprise you? He said, no, it doesn't surprise me. I know my level. It's just a case of whether I do it or not. And he said, if I play my game, I win. And when you look at what he's doing, it's hard to disagree too much. I do think Gary Anderson is going to give a good showing of himself. I thought Josh Rock was a little bit disappointing yesterday. I think that once Hood went 2-0 up, going 6 out of 6 on doubles, he looked a little bit like, woe is me. I'm just bumping into an all-timer performance, which he was. But I think if Gary Anderson was in that situation, or Michael Van Gerwen was in that situation, they would try and take the game by the scruff of the neck and drag themselves back into it. I felt like Rock maybe just accepted it a tad. I mean, it was great sportsmanship, and I'm not going to knock him because he did come up against an all-time performance, but we're talking about a real legend of the sport here, playing extremely well, eyes on the prize, been there, done it. It's going to be extremely tough, this, for Justin Hood. He's going to have to finish, obviously not as well as he did against Rock, because that's borderline impossible, but he's going to have to finish up at 60% plus, I think, to win this. I'll be honest with you, it's a no bet for me. I am done trying to predict Justin Hood matches. I'm just going to sit back, watch, and enjoy this. If you were asking me for my honest opinion on how the game will pan out, I think maybe like a 5-3 Anderson. I think Hood will give another good showing of himself, really enjoy it, go out on his shield, and maybe Anderson will just have too much class. But, like, God, it's really hard to knock him. Like, if I get up the stats here, there's not a lot between these two at all. Hood finishing slightly better. He's finishing for the tournament only 43.75, which is remarkable when you think that he was nearly 100% in his last 16 game. That's because he was down at 30% against Ryan Meikle, hit 10 of 30. So to hit 10 of 30 at doubles and then your next game go 11 out of 11 is just bonkers. And that's why I'm finding it hard to want to put a bet up in his matches, because it's just like, it's defying logic to me. So happy to just watch him. Anderson has got the best 180s per leg in the tournament, bar Littler. He's absolutely plundering the 180s in. So I think as brilliant as Hood's scoring has been, I think Anderson will match him there. And it'll just be whether the checkouts, it's all going to come down to the doubling, really. Can Hood sustain the doubling? We'll see, I guess. He's also got the highest ton plus checkouts per leg ratio in the tournament, Justin Hood, like 0.1. So, yeah, 1 in 10 legs is taking a ton plus out, which is, again, is it sustainable? Who knows? But we're dealing with a very small sample here, and he is just riding the crest of a wave, and it's kind of like Royal the Rover stuff, isn't it? So, like I say, personally, I'm not going to try and take on Justin or work out what's going on there. I'm just going to sit back, watch, and enjoy. I'd be happy whoever wins it, to be honest. Like, the old romantic sort of nostalgic in me wants Anderson to go as deep as he possibly can. The man on the street in me wants Justin Hood to win the World Championship. So it's just going to be a really entertaining watch, but it's a no bet for me in that one. The 2 evening matches then, we start off with Littler versus Ratajski. This is obviously the shortest price by a distance in these quarterfinals. Some going 1-50 on Littler, which I think is a little bit disrespectful to Krzysztof. But am I going to back Krzysztof? That's what the retort would be. No. So, yeah, maybe it's not disrespectful. Maybe it's right. But I do think that, like, Ratajski, he's a good player. And he's as close to his best as we've seen him for a long time. There was signs of it. There's been signs of it the last 3 months. Like good runs on the floor. I think he had a floor title knocked Van Veen out of the Players' Championship finals, playing really, really well. So this shouldn't be a surprise. He's had a nice part of the draw to work his way through. Someone was always going to benefit from that little part of the draw. Hector and Cross were both vulnerable seeds in that section, and they had to sort of face Littler before this stage. Whereas, like in Ratajski's section, as soon as Going Price went out, opportunity knock for somebody. And let's be honest, he rode his luck against Wesley Price here, 3-1 down, survived match darts, come back and won 4-3. Yes, he rode his luck. On the flip side of that coin, fantastic. Like to dig in and turn that round, typified Ratajski for me. And the reality of the situation here is he's going to get outscored quite heavily. But do I still think he's going to be solid enough to win a set? I do. I think a lot of people are backing this 5-0 at 9-5. It could go off a bit shorter yet because it's 13-8, 6-4 in a lot of places. That like 9-5 is a real standout in it. I think that, and it seems like the late money's maybe agreeing with me that Ratajski wins a set or two here. I just think he's too solid not to really. I'll take you to the stats for these two. Rolling average for Littler, 103.41. Obviously, breathtakingly good in all aspects of the game. Highest 180s per leg ratio. Checkout percentage above 50%. Only dropped 2 sets thus far, which was against Cross. But we should talk about that Cross game because he is he's in a difficult spot here, Littler, for me. He's lost his head by his own admission. He said, as any player would have. I don't agree with that bit. I don't think many players would have turned around and said to the crowd, you pay my prize money. I think that was, unfortunately for him, just showing his age. And he's entitled to make mistakes. He is a teenager still. We forget his age and we expect a lot of him. But that was a big mistake for me, a misstep. And I think his management and, Sky were very keen not to mention it in the post-match. They kept brushing over it. But, you're going to have these missteps with young men in high-pressure positions. And, yes, he was getting booed, but I feel like Littler doesn't get booed that often, and when he does, we tend to hear about it. So he definitely doesn't enjoy being booed. Like, could he have looked more bothered when he said he wasn't bothered? Probably not. But he still won. He was still brilliant. So it's not that it's necessarily Littler's not going to win the World Championship because the crowd are booing him. No, but do I think it helps or hinders him? I actually think it hinders him because I think if he just turns up and plays darts, he wins 99 times out of 100. Don't bring other external factors into the contest that could cause you a problem. Could, not will, could. So I think he's a silly boy really to take the crowd on. I think as a result, he can expect some stick in this game. Is Ratajski good enough to convert that into like a win? Probably not. But I definitely think he's got to expect whistling now on his doubles. He's got to expect boos. It's like, some people call it a heel turn, me included. And it is kind of like, the crowd, if you rile the crowd up, they'll only get worse. And I think he would do very well to look at Going Price's trajectory, where he had a love-hate relationship, mainly hate with the crowd for a long time. And he spent the last 5 or 10 years trying to get the crowd back on side and trying to show the people that he's not an idiot and he's a decent bloke. And that's been a really long, tough process for him. And Littler's good enough to win with the crowd against him time and again, but I just don't see why you want to bring that upon yourself, really. So I am a little bit worried about Luke Littler with the crowd. I think it's a situation to watch. I think he'd do well to beat Ratajski tomorrow and come out and say that he lost his head and, get a little bit of empathy because, I've seen quite a lot of people not impressed with the way he handled himself, and it'd be a shame to see him sort of become this kind of opinion splitter rather than just being the sensation that he is. So it's an interesting subplot. In terms of the game, like I say, I like Krzysztof to get a set here, minimum, maybe 2. I think he's doubling is rock solid. He's shown himself to be up to it in the pressure moments. And I do really quite like that. So the way I'm going to play it on the Bet365 Bet Builder, I'm going to combine over 5.5 sets with Littler's 180 line over. His 180 line is 12.5. I think Yeah, so over 12.5. I like on the basis that the market is very much estimating the amount of sets at sort of 5 or 6. If I'm leaning more towards 6 than 5, it gives Littler more time to cover his 180 line. Played 6 sets against Rob Cross and it's 17 180s. So 6 sets here and we're looking for 13. Seems very manageable to me. I mean, he rarely goes off the boil in terms of 180s. He sometimes has flat games, but it's very rare that 180s go missing for Littler. The longer the format extends, the more he settles in. He has these purple patches of 3 or 4 180s in 2 minutes. And yeah, I think if we get the extra set, Littler definitely covers this 180 line. If you combine over 12.5 Littler 180s with over 5.5 sets, you get 7-5 on the Bet365 Bet Builder, which I think is a fantastic wager for that game. Final quarterfinal then is Luke Humphries versus Gian van Veen. They've saved the best till last. This could be game of the tournament. Could easily have been a final with a different draw as well. Like 2 of the best 3 players in the world this year, you'd have to say, alongside Littler. Interesting subplot here, if I just get the stats up, is that they've played each other 4 times this year and Van Veen has won all 4 of them. And they've all been fairly big matches as well, finals of things, and most notably the European Championship final where Humphries kind of threw it away and lost 11-10. Van Veen taking out a ton to win it. There's 4 ton plus outs in that game. There was a couple in the 6-5 Players Championship game recently at the Players Championship finals, which went the way of Van Veen again. And just generally seem to bring the best out of each other. Look at the rolling averages for the tournament. 2 of the top 4 in the tournament. 100.08 for Humphries, 100.47 for Van Veen. Humphries with a slightly lower checkout percentage, but I will just point out that is skewed by his first game against Ted Everts, where he missed loads of darts at doubles. His subsequent 3 games, he's been up at over 50%, whereas Van Veen's been pretty consistent in and around that 50% under or over all the way through. Humphries has definitely been skewed by 1 match. So although those stats would suggest Van Veen's been finishing the better, I would say, bar the first round, Humphries has actually been the better finisher. In terms of sets dropped, they've both dropped 4. They're both hitting almost identical 180s per leg. They've played the same amount of legs. So trying to split them is very, very difficult. Logically, you could therefore say that Van Veen is a bet because he is the outsider in this match. Van Veen is the outsider in this match at 13-10. But I think actually that's fair because the magnitude of the game, like Gian has never been to this stage of the World Championship. He's playing a former world champion and a very determined and informed former world champion. So I think you have to say that is a fair market price. That's how I would have it myself. If you were putting a gun to my head, who you think might win? I think Humphries probably wins it. I think he finds a way. But he's not going to be able to contain Gian in terms of his scoring. He's going to have to go toe-to-toe with him. He will have dips to Humphries, but what he the key to his success over the last 2 or 3 years has been when he does have a dip, he responds. And I think the ebbs and flows of the game may just suit Humphries a little bit more. I think Gian's dips can go on a little bit longer than Luke's, would be my sort of insight there. So, I am leaning towards Humphries. Again, length, I could happily back the over 7.5 sets. I haven't, but I happily could. So the way I'm going to play this one is the ton plus checkouts markets with Bet365, which if I just get them up here, there you can see ton plus checkouts. I'm going to back both players at 2 ton plus checkouts. Going to have a 3-point single on that. I think just over this distance, they bring the best out of each other. The pace is well suited. They're both very shrewd with their board management, so they leave themselves more of these opportunities than your average player. And there'll be a necessity for them to go quite frequently. The pressure is going to be on from leg 1 till the final dart for both players. And you really are going to have to find a few finishes of this nature to compete in this game, I think. And I think both are up to the job. So I'm going to have 3 points on both players hit 2 ton plus finishes at 20-23 with Bet365. And I'm going to have a further point on both players to hit 3 ton plus finishes at 7-2. I really do think this has all the makings of a classic. I don't think it will disappoint. I think it'll go deep. I think we're going to see plenty of quality from both. I would lean towards Luke Humphries, but so does the market. So there's no bet in terms of the match winner. Instead, I'm just going to play the ton plus checkouts. The main bet being 2 ton plus checkouts each at 20-23 and 3 ton plus checkouts each for a further point at 7-2. Okay, then, well, that concludes my thoughts on the World Championship quarterfinals. Really, really looking forward to the action on Thursday. Let me know who you're predicting to get through into the semis in the comments, any bets you might be having. And if you have enjoyed these videos, as I always say, please do give us a thumb up. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe to the Odds Now YouTube channel. Started the tournament with 800 followers, getting up towards that 1,000. I think we're nearly at 950 now. It'd be great if we could get there. But it's been a pleasure having you join me. I hope you've enjoyed the insights, and I'll be back again to preview the semi-finals on Friday. Thanks very much.